We are live. What's up, my friends? Welcome to the Write With Me live stream. This is our second session of Novel November 2025. I'm so glad you're here with me today. I'm really excited to write with you and work on our projects together. So first things first, type in the chat. Tell me if you can see me and hear me okay. And tell me what you're working on. Are you doing Novel November, which is a month-long writing challenge, totally free. If you haven't joined it, you can still do that. I know we're like 12 days into this now, but if you've been writing throughout November and you're like, oh, I didn't even realize there's a challenge going on, you can still join. The link is below this video. But otherwise, if you are in Nob, welcome. And I'm so glad that you're here and dedicating yourself to your project this month and staying consistent with it. That is so important, and it's the most important thing. It's just showing up. Doesn't matter how many words you write. And that is the whole point of these live streams, is just helping each other to show up for ourselves, show up for our creativity, and hold each other accountable in some ways. So I hope that it is a beautiful day where you are. And some of you are probably in other parts of the world. So tell me where you're tuning in from. Let's see. I see Michigan, South Africa. Awesome. So cool. The Netherlands. Awesome. I see a lot of people working on different genres here. Dystopian, novel, November, fantasy story. Cool. Awesome. One of you has only 4 chapters left until the end of book 1. That's so exciting. Let's see, romantasy Christmas novella. That sounds awesome. I see Austria, Virginia, Tennessee, France, Georgia, Philippines, Nigeria. Amazing. Welcome, everyone. I'm so glad you're here. Okay, so the way these live streams work, if you're new around here and this is your first one attending live, how we do this is we do writing sprints. So we're going to do 4 sprints of 25 minutes, and I will set my timer here so that you can see it. And we'll have 5-minute breaks in between to chat about our stories. So yeah, that's basically how it rolls, is we write for 25 minutes, then chat for 5 minutes in between, and you can log your words here in the chat, or if you're in my Discord community, you can also hop over there because I will be writing or running sprints simultaneously in the Discord. So let's make sure there's no sprints happening at the moment. And it looks like there is, so we're going to do that next time because I want that sprint to be able to finish first. So anyone who's in the Discord writing, you can finish that sprint, and then next time we'll do another sprint for the next session. Okay, so who's ready to write? I know I am very ready. I've been preparing some research this morning and just prepping myself for this chapter that I'm about to dive into. And I'm very close to the end of my book too. You guys know I've been working on a contemporary rom-com that I am in love with. And I'm really close to the end. I'm over 100,000 words. I didn't start at the beginning of November, though, so don't freak out. I do not write that quickly. I started at the end of September. So I've been writing this book for about, 7 weeks now, I think. But yeah, really glad with the progress I've been making. And I'm getting close to the end, so I'm really excited. Okay. And a lot of you guys probably also saw the other day I posted the announcement and cover reveal and release date announcement for my upcoming book in the 100 Days of Sunlight series, which is the 3rd book in that series. It's called Snapshots of Sunlight. If you want to learn more about that, then go definitely check out my YouTube community tab. That's where I posted everything. I also posted on Instagram, Facebook, socials. So you can check out what that is about. It's a short story collection, and it's coming out February 24th of next year. So I'm really excited for that. And if you want to join the ARC team, I am now taking applications for that. So you can click the link in that post in my community tab to join the ARC team. So I hope to see you over there. But let's get into our first sprint. I'm going to go ahead and set my timer. And let's kick this off. Okay, so I've got my timer set for 25 minutes. You can follow along with mine or start your own. And we will just go ahead and start that sprint. Okay, good luck, guys. Okay, sprint number 1 is done. Great job, guys. Type in the chat, tell me how it went. Hopefully that was a good, productive first sprint for you. It was very productive for me. I wrote 490 words. So I'm off to a really good start. But if you're just joining, don't worry, you haven't missed much. We're going to do 3 more sprints. So welcome if you've just clicked on this live stream. There's still some more sprints to be done. So we're going to take a quick break here and I'll answer a few questions in the chat and then we can get into our next sprint. I feel like I missed a super chat, which I did from Cosmic Latte 9. Thank you so much for the super chat. You asked, hi, Abby, how do you balance your character's internal conflict and flaws with positive qualities? I love that question because there are 2 sides to every character conflict, right? We have positive traits and negative traits. We have characters who are struggling with something internally, like fatal flaws and fears, but they also have a good side to them and they have positive traits too. And the interesting thing here is that every negative trait can be flipped into a positive trait. So I would say first look at their negative traits and see like what is the flip side positive of that trait, because like, you know, with human nature, our greatest strength is our greatest weakness, right? So maybe you have a character who is extremely stubborn. Well, that could also be a positive trait. They could be headstrong and bold and assertive. Those could be positive qualities as well. Maybe you have a character who is like terrified of danger and they're hyper cautious. That could be a negative trait, but it could also be a positive trait in that they're very protective and loyal, and they are always trying to look out for their loved ones. Okay, those could also be positive things. So every time you see a character with a negative trait, you can flip it over into a positive trait. And that's, to me, the most realistic way to give your characters positive traits as well as flaws is when they align perfectly. It's like the mirror image of the negative trait. So hopefully that helps to figure that out for your characters. Thank you so much for the super chat. Stray Stay asked, I feel like my character's development arc isn't clear enough. Any tips? Sometimes when you're trying to develop your character's arc, the best thing to do is just write it to the best of your ability in the first draft and then go back and refine it later. And not overthink it too much in the first draft. I'm not sure how much outlining you've actually done for your character arc, but if you can sit with yourself and figure out like, okay, here is my character's motivation at the beginning, in the middle, and the end. That's really all you need to know for the first draft. Understanding their internal conflict and then understanding how they're going to change. Like, how is their character different from the end than it was at the beginning? And it doesn't have to be a dramatic change either. Even if you feel like this character hasn't changed that much, but they have come to an understanding about something, or they've learned the truth about something, or they have gained clarity on some issue that they had struggles with before, that could be enough. And what I like to do is throughout my book, I try to pause like at least 3 times throughout the story's timeline to ask myself, what is my character's motivation now and how has it changed from before? So I do this every single time I write a book. And I was just doing it the other day actually with one of my main characters, because I had to really think about, okay, where is his arc going now? Like, what is he feeling about everything that's happened so far in the story, and how has it changed the game going forward? What is his plan now? So even just pausing with yourself and asking yourself those questions can be really helpful. Let's see. Angel Faye Writer asked, I love your channel. It helped me a lot when I first started writing 3 years ago. Has it ever happened to you that you wrote an outline, but you stepped out of it? Yes, all the time. And that's why I don't write super detailed outlines anymore. I write outlines as I go, kind of. I have a general idea, like I'll write probably 2,000 to 3,000 words of what I generally want to happen for the entirety of the book. And then I will go in more detail chapter by chapter and outline as I go, because I've had this happen to me so much where I outline in detail a lot and then I deviate from the outline, and then everything that I had planned, I have to then change. So it's like a lot of wasted time trying to figure out the perfect way to do something before you do it, and then you deviate from it. But it kind of depends on the writer. It depends on your process. And I recommend to writers who are just starting out, who don't have any sense of direction and they want a lot of sense of direction, it's good to outline in detail. But as you learn your process and you sort of get to know yourself better as an author, as a writer, you start to see that maybe you don't need all that outlining. Maybe a little goes a long way. So I would say like feel it out for your own process, but that's definitely happened to me where I deviate from my outline and then I'm like, okay, well, maybe I don't really need to outline that much ahead of time. Maybe I can just kind of go with the flow and see what feels good in the moment. So yeah, finding your own process and what works for you is so important. Okay, so I've been talking for over 5 minutes now. I'm going to start a new sprint, and I'm going to start it in the Discord as well this time. So if you're over on Discord, feel free to join there. If you're not on Discord, but you would like to be, I highly recommend it because it is very similar to these live streams in that we have an amazing, vibrant community of writers, and there are over 1,000 writers who do writing sprints all the time, and we share our work and brainstorm together and encourage each other. It's really fun. So if you want to join that, you can join my Patreon at any level, and the link to that is below this video. But let's set our timers up again and get into our second sprint. It's like I had an eyelash in my eye, but I can't see it, so I guess carry on. Okay, let's go. Okay, sprint number 2 flew by so quickly. Hopefully that was a good sprint for you guys. It was for me. Making some good tracks with this chapter. Let's see, I've reached 906 words. I love those only. So 416 new words for me. Yay! Awesome. Great job, guys. Looks like you all are making amazing progress, and you should be super proud of yourself. Okay, we're going to take a little break here, answer a few more questions, and then get into our next sprint. First question is a super chat from Theodora X. Thank you so much for the super chat. I made my group of antagonists more sympathetic and my heroes more entitled than I intended. Is that okay for more conflict between the two groups? I would say yes, absolutely, because everybody's flawed, right? We all have flaws, and I think it can be a really great way to show how your characters are relatable, to show that each group is not like all good or all bad. In fact, I would advise against doing that because it kind of caricaturizes like the antagonist versus the protagonist or the hero versus the villain. And you want more nuance than that. You want more layers of juicy conflict than that. It's not just that the villains are bad for the sake of being bad and the heroes are good for the sake of being good. They all have their own unique conflicts. So that to me sounds like you've done a good job of making them have layered conflicts. And I think it can be good to show that contrast and that difference, and that even if you're a character that's on the right side of the issue of what's happening in the story, those characters also have flaws that they struggle with. So I would say that's totally cool and great to have those layers and that depth. Let's see. Your Honest Opinion asks, hey, Abby, how can I make my book actually scary in a psychological way without cheesy horror? It's a great question. And I personally love smart, sophisticated, like psychological thriller that feels very well thought out and spooky in a good way, without it falling into like the cheesy horror category. And to me, what this is like, it comes back to like character versus plot, character driven versus plot driven. Because when a story is creepy in a psychological way, it's like all happening really in the character's mind. Even if it's actually sinister forces at play, it's more to do with how the character is feeling and internally dealing with the conflict, and less to do with external circumstances. So a, scary, cheesy horror situation might be that like ghosts or monsters or aliens are attacking these characters and there's nothing they can virtually do about it except try to survive. Okay, that might be some situation that feels cliche, and in that situation it's like more plot driven because you have this external circumstance that is inflicting itself upon the characters, right? But in a psychological thriller or suspense, you have more of the internal conflict of what the character is dealing with in their mind. It's not so much the forces at play, although there are sinister forces at play. It's more to do with how that main character is perceiving it and dealing with it, and the struggle and the war that they're having with themselves in their own mind. So I would say lean into that more, like lean into how are they at war with themselves in their own mind. Because that's part of what makes psychological thrillers so juicy and compelling, is when things aren't actually how the character thinks they are. Let's see. Renee Ross gave a super chat. Thank you so much. I juggle 3 projects at once. How many do you work on simultaneously? Well, that is amazing that you can juggle 3 at once. I can juggle probably 3 at once, but in different stages. So right now I'm like in the process of editing a book and also writing a new first draft and publishing something. So those are like 3 different stages of the writing process. I can really only write a first draft of 1 book at a time, which is fine for me because I typically take like 6 to 8 weeks to write a first draft. So it's not a huge time commitment. And while I'm writing that first draft, I can be like working on editing another book, but I try not to deviate my attention too much, because then if I do, then I don't have full attention to focus on that first draft. But every writer is different, Some writers can juggle a lot of different projects at once, and I think that's very impressive. So it's really up to like what you feel your creative bandwidth can contain. Okay, last question before we get into the next sprint. This is a super chat from Richard Baranowski. Thank you so much for the super chat. Hey, Abby, I know literary agents ask for your first 10 pages. My first 10 pages are good, but not a lot of plot happening. Would this be a deal breaker? That's a great question. And I think it depends on the book. It really depends. When you say there's not a lot of plot happening, that can be totally okay, as long as you have a character who has internal conflict that we instantly relate to and care about, right? Because that's the more important thing. It doesn't even matter, like I always say, it doesn't even matter if there's like big, exciting things happening on that first page, as long as there is a character who is dealing with some sort of conflict. We can see that maybe they have a micro goal that they are trying to accomplish in those first 10 pages, and we see how that micro goal is attached to their deeper internal conflict. If we can see that, that is going to create empathy in your reader, and empathy for the character is what a literary agent is looking for. They're looking for an emotionally compelling story, not necessarily a story that just has, you know, the plot moving forward in those first 10 pages. It's good to have some indication of where the plot's going to go so that you can kind of set the stage for it. But the most important thing, like I always talk about, is creating that connection, that emotional connection to that main character on page one. And it's no small task. I know it's a tall order, but I would recommend checking out my video that I made on writing the first page. I think it's called like Mistakes Writers Make with the First Page of Your Book. And that could apply to even the first 10 pages. I also have one on writing the first chapter. So both of those are really good to check out for kind of just doing a little self-audit of those first 10 pages. So I highly recommend those. Those are both on my channel. Okay, let's restart our timers and get into this next sprint. Any other questions I will try to grab at the next break. So let's get that sprint started there. And join with the same word count in Discord. Feel free to join over there if you want. And let's get into our next sprint. Okay, sprint number 3 done. Great job, guys. Hopefully this has been a good sprint for you. Type in the chat, tell me how it went. See my 1304. $398 words this time. Sweet. The sprint is just flying by. I'm writing mostly dialogue, so it's very quick. Dialogue always goes so much faster for me than anything else. I don't know about you guys, but type in the chat, tell me how it went. We're gonna do one more break here and then get to our 4th and final sprint. So I'm gonna grab a few super chats here. First from Emily, thank you so much. Hi Abby, I really need help. I ran out of plot, but I'm only halfway through my book. How do I keep my plot going until the end? I really want 50K. It's a great question. There's so many ways to add more plot to your book. The first thing I would say is going back to the overarching timeline and structure of your story. Like looking at all of it as your character's arc from beginning to end. Do you really feel like you have brought your character on their full circle, like complete journey? Or do you feel like there's more to be said here? And if so, if you've already brought them on that full journey, then maybe going back and finding ways to add subplots and add other layers to the story to make that journey last a bit longer and have that character face more obstacles. This is what I love about the 3-act story structure, is you can really like stretch it or shorten it to however long or short you want it to be. So it could be, 50,000 word book, 100,000, 200,000 words, however long you need it to be, based on how long you're lingering on each plot point. And if you don't write with a structure, you can still add more plot to your book by going back and looking at like, okay, have I brought this character on their full journey? Or do I feel like there's more to be said here? Do I feel like there's more for this character to learn and develop? And if so, how can I bring them on that internal journey? So it's more about the internal change and transformation than what's happening externally, because you don't want to just like write filler and have more stuff happen that doesn't really mean anything, right? You want it to be significant to the character and their internal journey. So you can do this by looking at the 3-act story structure and looking at, okay, do I have a strong inciting incident? Do I have a good impossible choice moment? Do I have a fully fleshed out middle act where we have this character who's approaching a plan, a goal from this specific plan, and then there's some sort of plot twist or game-changing midpoint that happens at the midpoint, and then they have to sort of reassess their plan and approach it from a different angle. And in the 3rd act, is there going to be a disaster, a dark moment, an aha moment, or maybe they'll be tempted with the thing that they thought they always wanted, but now they don't want it, and they have to approach this new final challenge in this climactic confrontation. And all of that combined is going to give you so much space to fill in more plot. And if you still feel like there's something missing, then I would say resort to subplots and have more of your significant side characters have plots of their own, which we can, visit and look at throughout the story. But I have videos on subplots and side characters, so I recommend checking out those for more details on that. But hopefully that helps. Another super chat from Sam I Am. Thank you so much for the super chat. Big congrats on announcing the new book. Thank you so much. I am so excited for the new book. I'm really excited to share it with you guys. I'm in the formatting stage now. And yeah, like I said before, I'm taking applications for the ARC team now. So if you're interested in that, definitely check out the post I put up on my YouTube community tab to get the link for that ARC team, if you're interested in reading it before anyone else does. Okay, I'm gonna grab a few more questions here. Let's see. Shiloh H asked, hey Abby, so I have a question. Is self-publishing or getting a publishing agent better? What earns you more money, copyright, and for it to go more mainstream and popular? Oh, man, that's a big question, and it's hard to answer in such a short amount of time, but I would say each have their pros and cons. So it depends on what is important to you. If higher royalties and more control is important to you, then I would say go the indie publishing route. Or if getting a wider distribution and possibly having less control creatively over like the packaging and presentation and distribution of your product or your book, but having more of the mainstream approach where you have more access to brick and mortar bookstores and more access to bestseller lists and things like that, that is more accessible to traditionally published authors than it is for indie authors. Now, the landscape is changing quite a bit and has changed a lot over the years. I would say now it's better time to be an indie author now than it ever has been, but there are still limitations to being an indie author. There are still some things that are more difficult for self-published authors. So I would say do your research on it, figure out the pros and cons. But for me, what I've found the pros and cons to be so far in my publishing journey is that you definitely have more control and higher royalties as an indie author, but there are trade-offs too, because you don't have as much reach and distribution as you might get with a traditional publishing deal. But it is completely dependent on a case-by-case scenario, because there are a lot of people who have wide distribution as indie authors and a lot of people who have had bad stories, bad experiences with traditional publishing. So it really depends on the case. So I would say do your own research on that, but I'm going to be doing some more videos on indie publishing versus traditional publishing in the future. So keep an eye out for that. And Alex gave a super chat. Thank you so much. Hello, Abby. Congrats on your book. When do you plan to finish, or when can we get more info on your Enneagram series? I plan to write an Enneagram 6. I am working on it. I promise. I know there's been a little bit of a delay because of Novel November and everything I've been doing with Novel November and with Pro Writing Aid for that, and with the book project, 2 books that I'm kind of juggling at the moment with the publishing stage. Plus writing. So yeah, it's kind of slowed things down a bit, but I am working on the Enneagram 6 video right now. I'm still in the drafting process, writing the script for it. So we are going to get that out soon. So stay tuned for that. My goal is to get that out before the month is over. So keep an eye out for that, but I'm really excited to continue the Enneagram series. It is not dead. So stay tuned. Okay. That being said, let's get into our 4th and final sprint, guys. Let's finish strong. I'm going to start one last sprint in the Discord. 25 minutes. Feel free to join over there. If not, stay here in the live stream. Let's finish strong. One final sprint. Yay! Sprint number 4 is done. Great job, guys. Fantastic work. I'm very pleased with how much I wrote today. Let's see, I have 1,600 words from this session, so I'm really happy with that. Almost finished the chapter, but not quite. Still a little bit left to write on that, but that will have to be for another session since this one is wrapping up now. But thank you guys so much for joining me today. I hope it was a productive session. Type in the chat and tell me how many words you wrote since we started this live stream. I would love to hear that. Every Wednesday this month, we're going to be doing Write With Me live streams. So if you just hopped on or you missed this one, then come to the next live stream that's happening next Wednesday. I'm not sure what time it will be, but we'll probably do a different time of day, maybe like afternoon Eastern time, so that other time zones can join as well. But we'll see how that goes. Maybe I'll put up a poll to see which time we should do for our next sprint. So keep an eye out for that on the community tab. And until then, we're going to be doing sprints in Discord. Those are going on every single day with an amazing community of writers in the Discord community. So if you want to join that, then definitely click the link below this video to join my Patreon at any level, and you can get inside the Discord. I think you'll love it there. Also, I'm doing some amazing events for Novel November. So I'm doing some writing sprints with them as well, and some Q&As. So actually, this Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'm doing another special Q&A live with Pro Writing Aid in the Novel November community. So if you haven't joined that, definitely click the link below this video to get in on Novel November, and you'll see in the community interface there, you'll see my Q&A session coming up on Friday. So you can join that live, ask me questions, or submit questions ahead of time. I'm going to be answering as many questions as I can in that session. So I hope to see you over there as well. But thank you guys so much for joining me today. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your writing day. Thank you all for the support and love and super chats. I so appreciate you guys. Happy writing as always, and rock on.